At the core of youth development are hopes and aspirations that we have for the young people in our lives and the young people that we work with. Someone once said that youth development is what any parent would do for their child on a good day. Because on a bad day, I don't know. It's kind of hard. But on a good day, this is what I would want for you. And so in some ways, we almost innately know what we want for young people. We want for them to experience love. We want for them to deal with the world as it is, but also to learn and develop their own value systems and their own ways of thinking about the world. We want them to experience life and live in the present moment. And I love to be a benevolent badass. I have to figure out how to say that to my daughter without cursing, because I just tell her I won't do that. And to experience success and failure and appreciate both. So there are things that we want for young people. How do we translate that into practical work? How do you build a youth development program on what seems to be very immeasurable kinds of things and hopes and aspirations? This is an evolution in process. Youth development came out of a period in the United States where we thought very differently about young people. This morning we spoke about the challenges that young people experience as they're going through the developmental tasks. And there was a way that as a nation we used to respond to young people. The traditional approach to working with young people, and this is on page 18 of your implementation guide, the traditional approach was to wait until something goes wrong. Wait until a young person is in crisis. They've been arrested, they're on drugs, they're pregnant, there's something wrong with them. And then the system would respond with all kinds of resources and money and intervention with the goal of fixing them or trying to change their behavior in some way. Any of you who grew up in the 80s and experienced the Just Say No campaign and things like that are an example of that kind of approach. But youth development takes a different approach. Youth development begins with young people at the center of their own development. They are not passive recipients of services. They are not just these blank slates for us to kind of create on. They have a role and a form of leadership in determining who they want to be. So that if we look at, we began with talking about some of their challenges and the things that they have to overcome both developmentally and experience-wise. Youth development is about helping them navigate that and helping them do it in such a way that they are fully prepared, not just problem-free, that they are participating in their own development, that we're not setting goals for them, we are setting goals with them, and they are setting their own goals. That there's shared leadership in the development of, and moving towards the development of their lives. And there's also shared leadership in our programs, that we don't develop programs that we want, we develop programs that you want, and we have to share that leadership with you. And that we are driving towards positive outcomes for you and with you. And that marks the shift. YDI has a particular perspective on how that's done. And in the center of your tables, you will see what looks like a really weird seesaw. If you look to the left, there's core concepts. What do we believe about young people? Youth needs. What do they need as they move through and transition to adulthood? What's the context in which they live? Youth participation. How can we engage them to fully participate in their own development and not just respond and react, but to initiate and lead? How can we make sure that we're not just providing services and supports, but offering real opportunities for young people to learn new skills? And I don't mean just what people call hard skills. I mean skills like managing my emotions, skills like learning how to relate to other people, learning how to be in partnership with other adults. How can we do that? Youth Development Framework also focuses on the core competencies of the youth worker. So if I'm trying to do all of this and balance all of this, what kinds of skills, knowledge, and characteristics do I need? And then finally, pushing towards youth outcomes. And this is the broad range of perspectives that are incorporated into the Youth Development Framework, anchored on factors that foster resiliency, which we're going to talk about in a moment, and happening within the context of organizational culture. Youth workers need supportive organizations to do this work. If you have an organization that doesn't give you time to plan, then it's very hard for you to do goal setting with young people. And so part of what we work with is not just practitioners, but also with the organizations to make sure that they're structured in a way that makes youth development possible to live and thrive. They're the theoretical definitions of youth work, and quickly, it just means that youth development is both a process that every young person undergoes. The transition from adolescence to adulthood is a process and called youth development, but it's also an approach, as you'll see on page 20. And we've highlighted some of the aspects of that approach that basically supports the power of young people and engages them in resources and focuses on their strengths, not their deficits, and we're not trying to fix them.